Hey, welcome back to part 2 of my IKEA Besta hack. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll include a link in the description below. In this part, we'll be going over the trim work, the crown molding, I'll be doing the painting, gonna install the butcher block that goes underneath the TV. We'll seal that to really bring out the natural color of the wood as well as protect it. And we will be running the audio and video cabling up to the TV down through the back of the IKEA shelves. Once we're done with all of that, I'll include a breakdown of all the materials, the cost of all the IKEA hardware, including the door hardware, the drawer rails, the shelves, everything. I'll also include a cost summary of all the other materials I used from the hardware store, everything from the cost of the butcher block itself to the screws and the paint. I think that's going to be my favorite part of this whole thing because, you know, as satisfying as a do-it-yourself project like this is to come up with the idea and see it through to completion, the essence of an IKEA hack is the cost savings, I think, to end up with a good looking product at a really good price. So I'm excited to see how much we spent on this versus how much it likely would have cost if we had gone with a general contractor. So with that, let's get into it. I'll see you on the other side. Hey, welcome back. At this point, I'm ready to get into the trimming portion of this project, which really is the essence of the IKEA hack. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so over the last day, I spent a lot of time breaking down IKEA cardboard boxes, and I started doing some painting on most of the trim pieces I'll be using. Ended up going just to Lowe's and color matching one of the shelves. I just popped it out, took it with me. They put it through the machine, and I mean, I'm pretty happy with how close the match is. So, one thing I did realize was when I was putting the base in, I really wanted the carpet to be tight up against the board, you know, so that there was no risk of it pulling back. That turned out well, but I got, obviously that 2x6 is really 5.5 inches wide, and so naturally I got 5.5 inch wide base trim. However, with the carpet, I mean, the most I'm gonna be able to compress this down is to about 5 inches, I think. So what I'm planning on doing before I start cutting the lengths is getting on the table saw and ripping about 1/2 inch off of the baseboard pieces before moving forward. Oh yeah, and I did take the time to adjust all the drawers and doors. I did pop this guy out and found where the rail was just a little wonky, which was kind of you know, making it not slide in as well. So I fixed that, and I got these doors looking pretty spot on, which is great. These this hardware, it made it really easy to do all those little micro adjustments. So I appreciated that. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna get to measuring and making some cuts. Okay, so I ended up ripping these down to a little more than a 1/2 inch off. Hopefully that fits snug, but not too snug. I just don't want it pushing up on the doors. Yeah, as far as the table saw, I don't often use this, but when I need to, it's really nice to have. My dad actually passed it on to me after he had done some work back where he lives, and it's been great. Okay, back inside. Just one more thing to say about this table saw. These can be intimidating if you haven't ever used one. I don't know if you guys have seen that 80s Weird Al movie, UHF, but if you look at Mr. Butterfingers, I think that was my first exposure to table saws. But honestly, I mean, as long as you're safe, the hardest part about using this thing is really just figuring out how to break this job site stand down at the end. I always forget. I clearly don't use it enough. But yeah, don't be afraid of these things. Okay, so we're gonna start doing our trim cuts. Now, for the last 13 years, I've used this guy. It's a 10-inch Craftsman miter saw, single bevel, sliding arm, laser sight. It's been great, but I gotta say, I finally got to the point where I wanted to upgrade, and I moved to this bad boy. This is the DeWalt 780. It's fantastic. It's 12-inch. It's got the sliding arm. It's got this LED guiding light on top. It's just really good cuts and easy to use. And this stand makes things a lot easier. So with that, let's get set up and get to cutting. All right, had to change into a t-shirt. It's hot in Colorado. It's supposed to snow tomorrow. That's just how it is here. So I got the first piece of trim down here, and I have to make a little cut. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do it and why I need to do it. Okay, so I think earlier I told you when I made the base frame, I just pushed it up against the wall and scored the trim, thinking that you know, that would be where I needed to put this. But this base trim is a little thicker than standard, so I'm gonna have to trim out a little more of this baseboard. Easiest way to do that, just bring your new piece up here, push it against the wall, mark it, and now you know exactly where to cut. So I'll get out my Dremel and we'll take care of that. See how it fits. Pretty good. We got a little extra room there, but you know what? The favorite tool of the finisher is painter's caulk, so we're gonna use plenty of that. Okay, so I'm ready to start nailing in some trim. I'm going to be using my brad nailer with 2-inch nails for this bottom piece, especially just because of the thickness. I don't want it pulling away, so here we go. Okay, so first piece looks pretty good. The clearance was really where I was hoping it would be. Over here, I made a 45-degree cut there. I just think that will make things look cleaner and easier to hide lines once we bring the other piece up here. So yeah, I'm gonna measure this piece, another 45-degree cut right there, and I'm going to have to trim that little piece of baseboard out as well, just like I did down there. All right, first pass done. Just a little tip, you know, I'm not a master carpenter, and I hate cutting boards too short. So what I do for cuts like this, I'll actually measure it, cut maybe like 1/4 of an inch too long, just because, you know, the blade takes off some length just by itself, and it's just so much easier to cut it a little bit long, bring it back, place it in, see how much you're over, and just do a couple of little trims until you get it exactly where you want it. And that's what I usually do. It's what I did here. I actually cut it 3 times and brought it back up here to, you know, see how it measured up before being satisfied. So yeah, just something to keep in mind if you're new at this. All right, pretty good. Got a little chip there and a tiny little gap, but you know what? That's what painter's caulk is for. I'll also be taking a bead and putting it along this edge, and then, you know, doing touch-up paint just to make it all blend in. But yeah, pretty good start. Now we get to go vertical. Okay, so I think at this point, I'm gonna take care of this piece that'll fit right in there. And I'm gonna bring it flush with the top of the IKEA stuff, because then I'll come back with the top board and just run that across. So yeah, here's the board, and we'll be sliding it right in there. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so I was about to put the board up and realized that once the board's in place, I won't be able to see where I put the blocks to nail it into. So I just grabbed some painter's tape, marked off the areas, and I'll let that guide me. Okay, so now that piece is in, I stuck with 2-inch brad nails just to get through that full piece of trim and into those blocks. And I think it looks pretty good. Brought it right up to the edge there. Down there, it's pretty tight. You know, I have this tiny little gap on the left side there, but what do we say? Painter's caulk will solve the problem. As for the gap on the right of the wall, that's where I have a smaller piece of just kind of shoe molding that I will put down there just to make it look really tight and nice. All right, so I went ahead and cut and installed this board. I don't even know what you call it, like a header. Anyway, I installed it the same way using those blocks. I think I like the way it all joined up. So now the purpose of this is to allow me to go back and attach crown molding to this piece. And then once everything's in place, obviously I'll be coming back and painting this board. So yeah, it's time for crown molding. Not my favorite thing to cut. Again, not a master carpenter, but I think we can figure it out. Okay, I've got to talk about these things. I just made my first crown cuts. Like I said, I always get nervous doing this because, you know, when you're messing with like all the crazy angles and, you know, how to get the corners right, it just throws me off and it never turns out perfectly. So I saw these things, these little crown fences for the miter saw, and it's awesome. So you just fit your board in there. So everything is tight, lined up, and then you don't have to worry about like getting it super precise beyond that. You just put it in, and yeah, made that cut perfectly, and it's like a perfect join. I can't believe this thing has existed for all these years, and I only just discovered it. All right, take a look at that. Not bad. You know, little crack. Danish cock. Okay, now I'm getting ready to put up the little shoe molding that will cover the little gap right there. This stuff is just, it looks like that. Since this is a lot thinner, I'm gonna switch over to 3/4 inch nails because we don't really need it to go very deep. All right, and we got those pieces in. Really just helps finish up the edge, covers any little gaps between the trim underneath and the wall. And yeah, I like the way it turned out. So now that we have all of the exterior trim done, we are left with this space. So I'm going to use the same shoe molding to go around the edges here and just again fill in these little gaps in the wall. But before I do that, what I wanted to do down here is put a slab of butcher block just to kind of make this whole white monstrosity a little more interesting. So I have that out in the garage. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to rip it, and I don't think my little job site table saw is cut out to take the weight of this thing. So I'm thinking about it. I think I might just have to sort of clamp down a guide rail and use a circular saw. So let's see how that turns out. Oh yeah, and it's starting to snow, so I think I'm gonna have to do it inside. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm back out in the garage, and like I suspected, I don't think that table saw is cut out to hold this much weight on this board, so I rigged something else up. I'm gonna use my circular saw here, which is great because I've only used it once, so you know, it feels good, like I'm getting my money's worth. Anyway, I marked off just a bit over 16 inches depth. That's will give me just a little bit of overhang, and came up here, marked it, and then I thought about it, and then I went back down and measured it again and came back up and double checked because this board costs like 200 bucks and I don't feel like making a $200 mistake tonight. So since I'm using the circular saw and you know, I don't have the steadiest of hands, I made this little guide here, fence, I guess. What I did was, you can measure the distance between the blade and the edge of this guy here, and it's about 1.5 inches. So I measured 1.5 inches from the line that I drew, and then I clamped down this board here. Hopefully it will hold in place. I think it will. I also added a strip of painter's tape here just to protect the surface of the side of the wood I'm keeping from the metal of the circular saw. scraping against it. So yeah, let's see how this works out. Oh yeah, and if you don't have one of these flat pencils, you should definitely buy some of these flat pencils. It's like instant 20 points to your credibility as a woodworker. Cool. All right, here we go. You'll also notice that I propped the board up with some scrap 2x6s, just so you know I don't risk sawing into the concrete of the garage floor. I'm sure that wouldn't backfire spectacularly. Okay, here we go. Okay, we made it through. And as for lessons learned, because I swear I'm always learning something, this awesome idea I had of using this 2x6 as a sort of fence wasn't the greatest. I don't know. You know, so these things have a little curve under here. So I was being mindful that the base of that saw wasn't, you know, kind of getting stuck under there, but just something to consider. I think it turned out okay. So now I have to measure this span, and I think I'm gonna be shaving just like half an inch off, but I'm gonna go down and measure, reclamp this thing, and do it all over. One more cut. Got that guy all cut up. Hopefully it fits. I'm gonna try sliding it in there right now. Fingers crossed. Okay, I think that looks great. Wow. Okay, so I had been thinking about, you know, do I want to glue this down or screw it from below? Yeah, I could do that actually. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I need to. I mean, this thing is pretty heavy. And I mean, yeah, I don't think this is gonna go anywhere. I think I'm just gonna let it sit. I can always go back and screw it in from the bottom with some more cabinet screws if I think, you know, it's wobbling or anything, but I mean, that's perfect. Awesome. All right, so the only trim I have left is I'm gonna take some more of that shoe molding and put it around the sides here. Fill in those gaps. Yeah, so it occurred to me tonight too. I don't know, I still don't know if I wanna put a flat board back here. It was really close. It's a little more than 4 feet. Those boards are sold in 4x8. And I really didn't want to have to join two pieces and have a seam that would be unsightly. So I'm back to thinking I might just paint the wall here. I know that'll make it easier for me to mount the TV into the studs. Obviously I'll have to do some patching, but I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I mean, I got the texture of the wall, but you know what? I'm planning on putting like a 75-inch TV here. I don't think you're gonna see the texture of the wall, or you're certainly not gonna pay attention to it. So yeah, let's do that. It's also supposed to snow like 4 inches tomorrow, and I don't think I wanna go out. So that's it. I'm beat. I think I'm going to quit for the night, start back in the morning, finish up the trim, get to filling the nail holes, breaking out the painter's caulk, and let that dry, paint, and then I have the door handle hardware. I'll probably also get the TV mount in place. Well, I still gotta buy the TV. I gotta run the power behind the wall and the conduit for HDMI. What else? Oh yeah. So this is unfinished. I think what I'm gonna do is I have, God, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like it's just like a treatment. It's like a wax-based treatment that you just you rub into this, let it absorb, do a few coats of that. It dries. It's not glossy, and it will, I think, maintain the natural color of the wood. So yeah. I lied. I told you it was gonna be 2 parts. But we're already at 32 minutes and I still gotta caulk and paint and seal the butcher block and run the cabling, power behind the TV. And I still wanna do the cost breakdown. So yeah, this is gonna be 3 parts. I know I said 2 parts more than once, but I guess it is what it is. Thank you for watching so far. I hope you stick around to check out part 3 and see how this all comes together. Thanks for watching.